Hi guys! So I wanted to do this video today. A lot of people have asked me pretty much how did I learn that Mikey had cancer? So I'm going to try to go through everything. There's a ton of details, but I'm going to kind of condense it, give you guys the condensed version so that this video is not an hour long. Um, Pretty much, he was diagnosed on May 19th, and the way it happened was the week before that, he started turning like a yellowish gray color, and I did start worrying about him. I called him, made a pediatrician appointment, but his pediatrician didn't have anything available until the following week. So I thought it was just like a vitamin deficiency or something. And so I went and got him some vitamins with iron and things like that. And I kept telling my parents, like, he's not really acting like himself. He was like really grumpy and really moody. And he had been like that for like a few months with me. But he started getting like really tired and he just wasn't himself. And if you guys know us, then like 3 weeks before this, we went on vacation. We went to California and went to Legoland and the beach and did all kinds of stuff. And we're the type of people who we did stuff every weekend. We were rarely home. He played soccer and school and all that kind of stuff. And we were just always busy. So it wasn't like him to not really want to do anything and then to like want to nap and stuff. That wasn't really like him either. So he started like wanting to take naps, and a few days before he was diagnosed, I threw a big 50th birthday party for my mom, and he just didn't look good that day. Like, he didn't look like he felt good. A lot of people noticed, and he went in. I actually found him in there napping in my mom and dad's room, which is not like him. Even my cousin and I had a talk about like his attitude. He was just so grumpy and just not like his happy self. So that was just 2 days before he was diagnosed. But he was still playing. Other than that, he was still playing. He was still going to school, all that kind of stuff. He did have signs and symptoms now that I know what they are, and looking back, for about 8 weeks before he was diagnosed. So it was a long time, a long time that I think his body was fighting it. The signs and symptoms were bruising, weird bruising. He got like a bruise like on his forehead. It was like a tiny one, a little one on his shoulder. He had them on like his arms, his elbows right here, his knees and legs. And then he got one on his side. And I wasn't really concerned about the bruising, to be honest with you, because he's 7. He's a little boy. He likes to play. He likes to wrestle. God only knows what he's doing on the playground at school. So I just figured, like he bumped into something or someone hit him with a ball or, something. I wasn't concerned because, like, there wasn't, like, small little bruises all over his back or in one area or anything like that. The coloring did start worrying me, which is why I made the pediatrician appointment and got him all kinds of vitamins. Now looking back, it's funny because there's no vitamins in the world that could have helped this, but I didn't know. And he did get bloody noses on and off and small fevers on and off for a few weeks, but he gets both of those when he's having really bad allergies, and he does have really bad allergies. So I didn't think it was anything to worry about. It was just normal kid stuff, And I'm trying to think if there was any other. It might come to me, but I think that was about it. What actually happened was Monday morning, he woke up for school, or I woke him up for school, and he was crying. He didn't want to get up, which isn't like him. He always wants to get up for school. He likes going to school. So he was crying. He didn't want to go to school. He was just too tired. And then it went right into kind of like a scream cry, which was very unusual for him. He rarely even cries, so like a scream cry, I was like, what the heck? Saying that his stomach hurt really bad, and he was holding his stomach, and I thought, well, maybe he's just got a stomach ache today, you know. I wasn't sure. I just thought it was like a normal kid stomach ache. And so I gave him some Pepto-Bismol, and I said, okay, you could stay home today. I stayed home with him. About 15 minutes after I left him in his room, I told him he had to lay down, you know, and get rest if he wasn't going to go to school. About 15 minutes later, he came into my room with a bloody nose. And so, you know, it was just kind of weird. So we were trying to stop his bloody nose for about 15 minutes, and it just wasn't stopping. And I totally believe in like a mother's intuition or a parent's intuition. I just like knew something wasn't right. I knew something wasn't right for a few days. I just never expected it to be severe. I just figured, you know, it was something minor, but I just had a really, really bad feeling that morning. So I packed him up. I took him to the urgent care. We sat there forever. That was a total nightmare at urgent care. It was a total joke. The doctor was horrible who saw us. We were there for probably 3 hours and literally got nowhere. I won't even get into the details of that because it's not important. It was just a nightmare. And so he ended up giving us labs for blood work, and asked at the end of the labs, asked for like a bleeding time, which I honestly don't know what that is, but whatever. It was something that he wanted to know. And still Michael's nose was gushing blood. We could not get it to stop. The doctor didn't even try to help me get it to stop. He just put one of those little nose tampons in. Well, we went through a whole pack of those in the emergency or in the urgent care room, and then he sent a pack home with me, which lasted less than an hour. And so he asked for this special lab, and nobody would do them. Nobody in our town. I went to the hospital where we lived. They turned us away, said they couldn't help us. So finally, I called his pediatrician, and by this time, it was like halfway into the day, and all kinds of stress. He couldn't even walk. He was so lethargic. I mean, there was a lot of stuff. I was carrying him. His nose was gushing blood. I'd already gone through 2 packs of those little nose things and a whole roll of toilet paper. By this point, his stomach was hurting him so bad. I didn't know what to do. I was honestly starting to kind of freak out. So I called his pediatrician, and I was like, listen, we got to figure this out. Nobody will help me. I need to know what to do. And he said to immediately take him into Sunrise Children's Hospital. And don't even call an ambulance, just take him in. I live on the outskirts of town anyway, so I was, you know, close enough anyway. So I just like rushed him into the hospital in Vegas. So I got him there. I carried him into the emergency room. I sat him down. There was a room full of people. I mean, sick people everywhere. It was packed. And I went to start signing him in they have like these kiosk things now where you sign him in electronically. And I was shaking so bad. I was terrified. I knew something was wrong. Again, I didn't know what, but I was shaking. And I kept messing up signing him in. So after about 30 seconds of that, a nurse like immediately came out, and she came over to me and said, is that your son that you know, that little boy right there, is that your son? And I said yes, and I was a mess. I was like, I keep messing this up, and you know, I'm shaking too bad. I can't get him signed in. Can you help me? And she said, oh no, you need to grab him right now. He looks really bad. Bring him straight back here. So she had me pick him up and bring him in. They got him immediately into a room in the ER, or the emergency room. And within less than 5 minutes, the doctor was in there, which if any of you guys know, I don't have a whole lot of experience with going to the ER, but if you guys know, that stuff normally takes like hours. You have to like sit and wait for hours, and then for the doctor to come in and see you, it's normally forever. No, the doctor was in between the time that I walked in holding him and the time that the doctor saw us was maybe a maximum of 10 minutes. And she was checking him, asking me all these questions. And by this time, he was just laying there. This sounds really horrible, but he was pretty much just like out of it, completely lifeless. Like he had his eyes closed. He was just in pain. His nose was still gushing blood. And when I say gushing, you guys, um, literally I took my mom with me because I needed somebody to help in the back seat while I drove with all the blood. Every like 30 seconds, she was making her own little like nose tampon things to stick up into his nose. And they were just like completely soaked within like 30 seconds. So that's how much blood he was losing out of his nose. And it started at 8 o'clock that morning. By the time we got to the ER, it was like, I don't remember, but I think it was around 4 p.m., maybe a little earlier than that. So, anyways, no, it was probably later, actually, about 6 or 7 p.m., because we were at the urgent care forever and trying to find help forever. Anyway, so the doctor came in, they did a bunch of blood tests, they checked everything, and in less than 30 minutes, she came in, about 30 minutes, she came back, and I was actually in there by myself. My mom had went out to call my dad and let him know that we were there, we made it, they were doing tests, and so I was actually in there by myself, and I'm glad because I'm Mikey's mom, and it was hard enough for me. I'm just glad my mom didn't have to be there at that point to hear what the doctor had said, but she pretty much said that the test came back abnormal, and they were pretty sure that it was a form of leukemia, and that she had called the oncologist, and he was already there looking over all the results, and that he would be in soon to talk to me. So I, like, everything just stopped. I was like in denial. What is she talking about? Leukemia, like, that can't even be happening. She's got to be wrong. Something's wrong. That's not really what's happening. So I was just in denial at first. And then my mom came back in, and I told her, and of course she was devastated, and I told my mom, don't get upset right now because this isn't right. Like, that's not what it really is. I was for sure that was not what it was. So then she went back outside to have a cigarette because she was stressed out. And I was in there by myself again with him, and the oncologist came in, and he told me that yes, Michael had leukemia, and they weren't 100% sure what kind yet, but basically he had it was clear he had leukemia, and he went over all the results with me and everything, of course, and basically he had like no platelets, like none, no platelets, which is why his nose would not quit bleeding. He had no platelets to clot his blood, and by this time still it was like, I think it was like 7 or 8 at night by this time, and his nose was still bleeding uncontrollably, and the white blood cells and stuff, he had like almost none of any of that. So I was just devastated. I can't even explain to you guys how I felt in the moment. It just was like one of those things you see in a movie where you literally, everything just kind of stops around you. The doctor's still talking, and you don't hear anything he's saying, and you can't hear anything. It's like tunnel vision. And your whole body just gets hot and tingly, and you just don't know what to do. You don't know whether to cry or laugh because, this can't really be happening. Like, what? This doesn't happen to me. You see this everywhere else, but it doesn't happen to you. Everything just kind of went black for a minute. And Michael was, in the same room with me, and I didn't freak out. I was just in pure shock, to be honest. I was just shocked. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And it was like this feeling came over me, just like nothing in the world mattered anymore. Um, Nothing. Work didn't matter, money didn't matter, just nothing mattered to me. And all I could do was just look over at him and think, like, I will do anything. I was like praying, I will do anything in the world to just make this all okay. So it was really hard. I'm really glad that, I had to do that on my own and my mom wasn't in there again, because it was a hard moment. And the doctor was amazing, and when I did snap out of it to a point, I was like, I work so hard every day to be the perfect mom and have this perfect life. And, I work really hard and I go to school and I'm always there for Mikey no matter what. And we are basically living the American dream, so to speak. And, I was at that point where I thought, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? Where did I go wrong in this life of always working so hard to make everything right for him? And I felt like I had done something, I could have prevented it. How did this happen? How did this happen to my baby? My amazing little boy who's everything to me and, always so healthy and happy, and like, why us, And the doctor pretty much was like, don't do that to yourself. There's no way I could have prevented it. There's tons of theories out there, but honestly, nobody really knows the cause of childhood leukemia. There are millions of people who probably think they know, and they don't. There's no actual scientific evidence of what causes it. So yeah, he's like, don't beat yourself up, you couldn't have done anything. He was amazing. He's such an amazing doctor. We definitely got him for a reason. He was the on-call oncologist for a reason that night. We have stayed with him ever since. I asked him, we don't have any medical insurance. Will you still see us, and he, of course, I will. We love him. He's amazing. So anyways, that is how it happened. That's how we found out. And it immediately went right into the first phase. I mean, he got his first blood and platelet transfusion right after that. So he first got, sorry, I can't talk. First, he got a blood transfusion because he had lost so much blood. And then next, he got a platelet transfusion. Well, the blood transfusions take forever, like 4 hours. So they had to wait for that to finish, and then they did the platelet transfusion. So by the time he got it, it was like in the middle of the night. Of course, I didn't sleep at all that night. I sat up in a chair. My mom and dad were with me because my dad had come in once we found out, and they slept with me in the hospital. And I sat up in a chair next to his bed, and I just sat there the whole night. The nurses were so cute. They kept coming in and telling me, just go to sleep, he's okay, he's okay. There was no way. I didn't sleep for like 3 or 4 days. But my phone is blowing up right now. Sorry. But anyways, once they got the platelet transfusion, then finally his nose stopped bleeding, and it bled on and off just a little bit the whole rest of the next day, but it had pretty much stopped around 5 a.m. that morning. So it bled for almost 24 hours straight from 8 a.m. Monday morning to 5 a.m. Tuesday morning. So it was a crazy day, so stressful, so I don't even know how to explain it. It was probably the worst day of my life, and also the best day of my life, just because, it has changed everything for us. We don't live the same anymore. We don't think the same anymore. We're grateful for every second of our life, and that wasn't how we were before. I mean, I've always been a very positive and grateful person for everything that we have, but I was striving to have, I wasn't striving to live, if that makes sense. I I wanted to give him everything, when in reality, just living and having the gift of being able to live happily is everything anybody needs. So it was the hardest, worst day of my life, but it has brought like the most amazing things to us. And so we can't be anything but grateful. I mean, it's not an ideal situation, and we're making the best of it because that's how we roll. So we make the best of every second. So, anyways, if you guys have any questions, that is how that happened. A lot of people have asked. It's a long story. I'm sorry, it's so long, but I did actually leave a lot of details out. So luckily, but yeah, thank you guys for watching, and feel free to ask questions because I don't get offended over anything. You guys could ask me anything, and I'm just gonna be like 100% real with you guys and tell you the truth. I I don't get offended. So ask if you want to know, just ask. All right? So that's it, and we'll see you guys in our next video. Bye.